Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you are a brand new viewer. My name is Diamond, aka Lady Leo, lover of all things nail polish, makeup, movies, TV shows, all sorts of things. My hope is that you come to my channel, find something that you like and or love, and hit the subscribe button because I would love to have you. So I know this is a little bit late, but I did do some nail art, I'm using quotations, for Halloween last week, but it didn't quite turn out the way that I wanted to. But I kind of still wanted to post this video because I don't like to post everything that's perfect. And even though this nail art didn't turn out amazing, I did learn some things from it. So I thought it might be fun for me to just kind of talk you through my process of what I wanted to do and what ended up happening. So I'm laying out all the polishes that I'm planning on using. I also have some shorts of these too in case you wanted to see that as well. So my mindset was going to be to do a couple of stamping plates. So I have 3 different stampers that I chose to use, and that's going to be for my thumb, my middle finger, and my pinky originally, but I ended up putting the bats on my index finger. And then I wanted to do a couple of other techniques as well. So originally I was going to do sort of water marbling for the base of my nails, but then I realized I ain't never done water marbling before, and I just didn't want to like go through all of that for this video. I'll do that at a later time. So I decided to go with a sort of smush technique. So I'm just dotting out the different types of nail polish that I want to use, and then I'm smushing them together on a stamper so that I can make a decal. And I opted to do that because I feel like it gives the effect of water marbling without having to go through all the hubbubaloo of water marbling. That being said, my plan was to do this sort of decal on my middle finger, my thumb, and my pinky, and then those would be the fingers that I was also going to lay a stamp on top of. So I thought this could be a fun base, and then I could do the stamp on top of it. I opted to go with black for the stamp because anytime I use white just happens to be super overpowering, and I thought that the white would just kind of distract from the design, where I thought black would be more subtle. So I ended up having to do some of these a couple of times just because for whatever reason, like especially on the circular stamper, there was always like this hole in the center after I would smush it. So I ended up having to like redo that one, which is why you see me like reapplying the color here, because there was a hole in the center and I couldn't like fill it by just going back over it. So I had to kind of redo it essentially for my thumb, but I did end up getting 3 different decals. So when I'm doing nail art and I'm doing anything involving stamping, I always do my stamping or my decals first because those need to really dry before I'm ready to kind of go on with the next step. So I have them here so you can kind of see what they look like. I do really like this effect. They're not perfect, but these are fine because the circular one is going to be my thumb, and these are going to go on fingers that are a little bit smaller anyway. So even though this decal doesn't fully cover the stamper, it's going to be fine. All right, now that I have all my stamps done, so now I'm going to move on to my next step. So that's just giving my nails a nice base, and I just wanted them all to have 1 coat of white. I could have done any color for the base of my nails, it doesn't matter because this is going to get covered up, but I felt like white was fine, 1 coat is fine because these are all going to get other things on top of them. So we'll get back to the stamping nails in a second. What I decided to do for my index finger and for my ring finger, so starting with my index finger, I just kind of wanted to do just like a nail brush painting technique. So I'm just using a nail brush, dipping it in and out of different colors just to kind of get different patterns. I don't know what you would call this, paintbrush technique maybe. Yeah, it's not watercolor because I'm not adding any water to it, but I like to do this because it's low-key lazy. But no, I actually like the creativity of it. I can mix the different colors on top of each other. It's kind of like doing a dotacure, except I'm just not using a dotted tool. So I wanted to do this one exclusively in cremes because I knew I was going to be doing a variation of this, but with the effects polishes. So I just dotted different colors in there, and I really liked the way this one turned out. Moving on to my ring finger, which is arguably my favorite finger. So what I ended up doing for this one was off camera, because I couldn't find a way to like do it, keep it in frame and film it, is that I just kind of laid out different effects polishes on my nail mat, and then I just went over with my nail brush and kind of swooped them all up and kind of layered them onto my nails. So you get this kind of swoopy effect where it's like a mix of the different polishes. And I specifically wanted to use effects polishes for that one, and my ring finger is hands down my favorite. Now we're moving on to the stamping. First off, this is where it's going to get complicated and where I definitely should have edited myself. But we're going to start with the decals. So I'm going to do the decals first, starting off with my thumb. And my first thought process is just to kind of like peel it away from the stamper and then just to apply it to my nails using a bonder base. So I use the Orly bonder base. I usually let that set for like 30-60 seconds because you still want it to be tacky. And then I go in there with the decal. Now, of course, the decal is going to be a little big, which is fine. That's not a bad thing. You can just go in there with any kind of nail tool that has like a little bit of a sharp edge. This one's just kind of like for cleaning your cuticles. So I use that, go around the cuticle, cut off the excess, and then I kind of clean it up with a nail brush. Now, I smudged my ring finger, no, my middle finger, because I don't know what got into me. Like on my thumb, I did peel off the decal from the actual nail stamp as opposed to trying to apply it from the stamp. But I was like, well, it should still work if I try to do it from the stamp. It doesn't work when you try to do it like that. So that was the first and last time I attempted that one. And I probably didn't let the white and the bonder base dry enough. Maybe I should have given it a little bit more time so it wasn't so wet, but live and you learn. Now moving on to my pinky. So with my pinky, I think it's a similar thing. I applied the decal like I did on my thumb, so not from the stamp. This one ended up being very, very dark though, so I'll get into that in a second. But it might have been a combination of the bonder base and the base coat not being fully dry. But as you can see, like when I go to kind of take off the excess decal, it almost kind of creates this crackle effect where you can see the white underneath. Now, originally I was like, ugh, but I actually kind of like the way this looks. I like it because this decal ended up being so dark that I think it gives it some nice like variance and some variety. So I actually kind of like the way my pinky turned out. So I've got just a little show here if you can see all the nails before we get into the stamping. All right, moving along to the stamping. So here's where I should have decided to edit myself and just removed the stamp in general, but I did not do that. So I ended up using, I stamped on my thumb, my index, and my, I think I said ring before, but I meant my middle finger. And I always do the same thing when I put a stamp on. I do the Orly bonder base. I let it dry for like 30 to 60 seconds before I apply the stamp. All right, we're just gonna freeze frame here for a second. The one that I did on my thumb went fine, but this one in particular is a little bad. Now, the problem with my middle finger is that it's a combination of the stamp I chose to use, which I think is slightly a little too wide and also not long enough for my nails, which are a little bit on the short side right now, for that. And then because of the way the stamp is designed with like the negative space being in the center and the black being the outline, I didn't really like this stamp for this nail because you can't really see that decal that I spent so long to do. And then it just gets super muddled. So I wish I wouldn't have applied the stamp on this one or used a different stamp just because, you know, it just muddles the nail in general. And this is the one that of all the stamps that I chose, that I like the least. Now moving on to my index finger. I was originally going to put the bats on my pinky, but because my pinky ended up being so dark, I just decided to put it on my index finger. But I think it worked out really well because this finger is pretty light in comparison to the other one in terms of like the color palette I used. So the bats look really, really good on this nail. So all in all, I had a lot of fun doing these. It didn't come out perfect, and sometimes it can kind of be like that when it comes to nail art. Sometimes you have a plan in mind, or if you're like me, sometimes you don't and you just kind of roll with it. I mean, to be fair, I did kind of have a plan in mind, but I don't like to previs anything either. I just kind of like to roll with it. I should have edited myself and taken off a few things from here, mainly the stamping, especially if I was going to do a decal on top of that. Lesson learned. I also probably should have picked a couple of other lighter polishes or used a few more of those in the decals to give some more contrast, because when you're looking at it from far away, because I have just a little final nails with my other hand too, it just looks super dark and muddled from a distance. I'd really have to zoom in so you can kind of see the definition in any of that, but you live and you learn. Like I said, I had fun doing them, and sometimes you do nail art, it's amazing. Other times maybe a little less so. So I hope you guys liked that video. If so, give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this from me, or any content, I do other types of videos too, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. All right, that's my time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Bye.